I met her in the waiting room of a dental clinic. Not exactly the place you expect to fall in love. Fluorescent lights, anxious coughing, the faint smell of disinfectant, but there she was. Reading a paperback book with no cover, legs crossed, black combat boots tapping a rhythm against the tile floor. She looked up, met my eyes, didn't smile. Just said, "They're running 22 minutes behind." I blinked. "Thanks," I said, unsure why she felt the need to tell me that. She went back to her book, but I kept looking. She was beautiful, not in a magazine kind of way. More like something dangerous disguised as ordinary, like a warning label written in cursive. I found out her name at the reception desk when the nurse called it. June. She stood, tossed her book into a canvas tote, and walked past me with the same quiet confidence she had when ignoring me. A week later, I saw her again. Same clinic, same boots, different book. This time, I sat beside her. "You come here often," I joked. She smirked. "Only when I need pain." We started talking. And I never really stopped. We had our first date at a bookstore, her idea. She handed me a $20 bill and said, "Pick the book that explains you best." I gave her The Stranger by Camus. She gave me Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. She smiled. "So, you're numb and I'm dangerous." I said, "Sounds like a balanced relationship." We had coffee afterward. She drank hers black. "I took mine with cream and sugar." She said I was a coward. I told her she was an acquired taste. She laughed. It wasn't long before she started spending the night. Then whole weekends, then she never really left. June moved into my apartment like fog rolls into a valley quietly. Then all at once, she didn't bring boxes, no luggage. Just a duffel bag with a typewriter, a jar of cloves, and a single photograph of a girl I didn't recognize. No explanation, she never needed one. Our days became rituals. Mornings, black coffee, Radiohead on vinyl. Evenings, silent dinners, long walks with no destination. Nights, passionate, wordless, and deep, but she never really talked about her past. Whenever I asked about family, she'd change the subject. Asked about work, she was freelance. What kind? The quiet kind. One night, she had a nightmare. She thrashed in bed, whispering names I didn't recognize. I tried to wake her, but when she opened her eyes, she looked through me. "Don't," she whispered. "He's still in the walls." Then she fell back asleep like nothing happened. In the morning, she didn't remember any of it. At least, that's what she said. Another time, I caught her burning something in the sink. A letter, maybe. She looked at me, eyes hollow, and said, "Some things are better forgotten." Still, I didn't leave. Because I was falling for her the way people fall asleep, slowly, then completely, until the package arrived. It came in a plain manila envelope, no return address. Just our apartment number, written in thick black marker. She found it first. By the time I walked in, she was already sitting cross-legged on the kitchen floor, the envelope torn open in front of her. Her face was still. Still. "What is it?" I asked. She looked up slowly, held up a photo, handed it to me without a word. It was grainy, old but unmistakable. June was in it, standing next to a man with dark hair and mirrored sunglasses. They were holding hands, both of them were smiling. Behind them was a motel sign. Below it, handwritten, "Checked out but never left." "What is this?" I asked. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. "His name was Ezra," she said. "We were engaged. He died." I stared at the photo. They didn't look like they were planning a wedding. They looked like they were planning a robbery. "When?" I asked. 3 years ago." I wanted to ask more. But she stood up and walked to the sink, took the picture from my hand and lit a match. She dropped it into the basin. "I don't like souvenirs," she said. The next day, she disappeared. No note, no text. Her clothes gone, toothbrush gone, but the typewriter stayed. And so did the photo frame, empty. I reported her missing after 2 days. The police took a statement. Said it wasn't the first time someone had vanished without struggle. That sometimes people leave when the version of themselves they're pretending to be gets too heavy. But I knew better. Something had followed her to my door. Something from before me. Something she thought she buried, but that was still digging. I went to the closet and pulled out the tote bag she never let me touch. Inside, a burner phone, a passport with a different last name, a receipt from a motel to states over, a key wrapped in red thread, and at the bottom, a photograph of me sleeping, dated to weeks before we met. I stared at the photo for a long time, my face, my pillow, my bedroom, taken from inside the apartment, from the hallway. She had been there before I knew her, before she spoke a word to me. Before the dental clinic, the bookstore, the coffee, the laughter, none of it was coincidence. It was surveillance. I dropped the picture. My hands were shaking. The apartment felt colder. Or maybe it was just me realizing that every moment I'd thought was spontaneous had been staged. I went to the typewriter, the last thing she left. I'd never touched it. She was weirdly territorial about it. There was a single sheet of paper already fed inside, typed neatly across the top. If you're reading this, I liked you more than I planned to. Below that, just an address. Nothing else, no name, no farewell. I packed a bag, got in my car, drove. The address led me to a storage facility to towns over, gate open, Unit 47. The key with the red thread fit perfectly. Inside were 27 boxes, all labeled with names. Women's names. I opened one. Inside were journals, receipts, photos, voicemails burned onto CD-discs. June was in all of them. Sometimes blonde, sometimes with glasses. Sometimes covered in tattoos, sometimes looking like someone entirely new. One box was labeled Marina. Inside, another burner phone. And another envelope. Inside that, a photo of her, in a hospital bed, holding hands with a man. He was smiling at her like she was his world. I flipped the photo over. Scrawled in Sharpie, "He'll never know it was me." I didn't know what I was inside anymore. A love story. A crime novel. A posthumous confession. I took photos of everything. Documented the unit. Then I went to the police. But they didn't care. She's not wanted. None of this proves a crime. They said you were dating a con artist. It happens, but the women, I said. There are files, dozens. Do you know if any of them reported anything? I didn't, and without a report, without a body, without a name. They closed the folder, so I opened one of my own. I built a map. Connected pins with thread, red for sightings, black for names, blue for cities. I cross-referenced missing persons reports, local news archives, even Reddit threads that had gone cold years ago. Patterns emerge. She moved in 5-year cycles. New state, new identity, a boyfriend or two. Then a disappearance, not always hers. Sometimes his. She had aliases: June, Marina, Ella, Devin, Blair, each name with its own handwriting, fashion, accent. I found one victim, or maybe survivor, who had posted on a forum 5 years ago under the username Aloning Bloomington. He wrote about a woman he fell for. She vanished with his money and left behind a Polaroid of him sleeping. I messaged him, no reply. The account hadn't been active in years. But then he answered, for days later. I knew someone else would find me eventually. She leaves trails when she's tired. We met at a coffee shop in Indiana. He looked like he hadn't slept in a decade. Said his name was Mark, though I doubted it. She finds guys who are lonely, he said. Not stupid, just lonely. And then she becomes exactly what they need. He lit a cigarette inside the coffee shop. No one stopped him. I thought she was a writer, he said. She told me things about myself I hadn't said out loud. Did she ever talk about Ezra? I asked. His hand froze midair. You know about Ezra? I nodded. He leaned in. Voice lowered. Ezra was real, but he didn't die in a car crash. He disappeared. She told me the same story. I looked it up. No records, no accident, nothing. I showed him the picture from the storage unit. His face drained of color. That's him, he whispered. She used his credit cards in 3 states after he went missing. What happened to you? I asked. She broke me, he said. Not with lies, with truths. She made me confess things I'd buried, made me believe I was healing, then used them all against me. For what? She likes the unraveling, not the money, not the thrill. Just the way men fall apart when they realize they've never really been loved. That night, I got drunker than I'd been in years. And I emailed her, or rather, I emailed every address she'd ever used. One had to still work. I wrote one line, "You picked the wrong person to ghost." I clicked send and went to bed. Around 3 a.m. my phone buzzed, no contact name, just a reply. "You finally figured it out? Took you long enough?" I stared at the message for a full minute. The screen dimmed. I tapped it back to life, as if keeping the words lit might burn away the dread settling in my chest. She knew I was looking, and she didn't care. I typed back. Why? The dots appeared, stopped, appeared again. Then came her response, "Because everyone needs a mirror." I didn't sleep. I didn't move. My apartment, once warm with the scent of her skin and the hum of her music, now felt like a stranger's crime scene. I looked around and couldn't find a single thing that belonged to her. Not a brush, not a sock, not even a memory that didn't feel poisoned. I opened the typewriter again, typed a single sentence. If I disappear, it wasn't me. The next day, I booked a one-way ticket. She wanted a game, I'd play it. But I'd set the rules. I landed in New Orleans. Her last confirmed location, according to a photo posted by an unsuspecting tourist 2 weeks prior. She was walking in the background, red coat, holding a coffee. Face tilted toward the camera just enough for me to know she wanted to be seen. I followed the trail, coffee shop receipts, gallery guest books, hotel check-ins under fake names that all sounded like poetry, Lyra Bloom, Arden Fox, Sierra Wilder. Then I found the art collective. She had left a sculpture there. Nothing grand. Just a ceramic mask, blank-faced, painted black with a thin crack running through the right eye. It was signed M. I asked the curator if he remembered her. He did. She said she was exploring themes of identity collapse, he said. She was the collapse, I muttered. He laughed. Sounds like someone hurt you. No, she didn't hurt me. She rewrote me. That night, I found a motel with a neon sign that flickered in Morse code. Or maybe it just felt that way. I took a shower, sat on the edge of the bed. Thought about all the men, all the boxes, all the names. What did she want? Not money. Not revenge, control. No. Witnesses. She wanted someone to know, to see. To remember her in every shade of manipulation she could paint, and I was her most complete masterpiece. Around midnight, the motel phone rang. I didn't answer. It rang again, and again I unplugged it. Then my cell buzzed. Blocked number. I answered. Silence. Then room 23. Now the line went dead. There was no room 23 in the motel. I checked. It ended at 22, so I walked outside, into the parking lot, and there she was, sitting on the hood of a car I didn't recognize, red coat, combat boots, a cigarette lit like a slow confession between her lips. She smiled. Didn't think you'd come. I swallowed. You wanted me too. She shrugged. Maybe? I found the storage unit. I know. You knew I would. She nodded, exhaled smoke. You could have been different, I said. She chuckled. No, you just could have been less curious. I stepped closer. She didn't move. Even under the motel's flickering neon, her face was unreadable. She looked like a photograph of someone I used to know, flattened, faded, drained of color. Why? I asked again. Why any of it? Her eyes locked on mine. You asked me that already, she said. Wrong question. Then what's the right one? She slid off the hood, boots hitting the pavement like a judge's gavel. She stepped close enough that I could see the reflection of myself in her pupils. "The right question," she whispered, "is why you stayed." I froze. "You knew I was lying," she continued. "Early on. You saw the cracks. You saw the disappearing nights, the burned paper. The stories that never matched. You chose to look away. To love the version of me that didn't exist. I wanted to deny it, but I couldn't. She was right. I had fallen in love with her potential, with the performance, with the storm, even while pretending I didn't hear the thunder. I stayed because I cared. I said, no," she said. "You stayed because you wanted to fix me. And fixing someone makes you feel important. That hit harder than anything." She smiled softly, like she was saying goodbye without the effort of words. Then she handed me an envelope. "This is the last piece," she said. "If you open it, there's no going back." "What's in it?" "A mirror," she said. Then she turned, walked to the car, and drove off. No goodbye, no apology, just tires on gravel and tail lights that didn't flicker once. I went back to my motel room and stared at the envelope for 3 hours. Then I opened it. Inside, a USB drive and a single piece of paper. On the paper was written, "There are worse things than being the villain in someone else's story. Sometimes you're the villain in your own." I plugged in the USB. Inside, video files, dozens, surveillance footage. Phone calls, audio clips, but not of her. Of me, at the coffee shop. Me, leaving my apartment. Me, sleeping. Dates going back 6 months before I met her. She hadn't just walked into my life, she built it. And I had no idea. I watched in silence as the files kept opening. Videos, audio logs, screenshots, some even edited with her commentary. She studied me, she documented me. Subject appears agitated after phone call with mother. Response window, 17 minutes. Subject tends to lie about work deadlines. Avoid direct confrontation. Subject exhibits guilt after intimacy. Leverage emotional remorse on day 38. Day 38. She had numbered the days, cataloged them. Tracked my patterns like a scientist dissects a mouse in a lab. Except I wasn't the mouse, I was the experiment and the lesson. I scrolled further, more folders, labeled by weeks. Weeks 1 through 17. One was called Test 3, Breakpoint, Inside, a video. It was me, crying, alone, talking to someone on the phone, telling them I was lost, that I thought I was in love but I didn't feel safe, that something felt wrong. The person on the other end of the line, it was her, using a voice changer, pretending to be a therapist, pretending to help me, and she recorded it. I slammed the laptop shut, paced the room, looked at myself in the mirror, the same one she'd once leaned into, and whispered, "You'll never see the cracks," and I hadn't. Not until they swallowed me whole. I thought I was the one unraveling the mystery. But I was the plot twist she'd written from the start. I wasn't her lover. I was her story. I left New Orleans the next day. Went home, if you could still call it that. I boxed up everything she ever touched, even things she never physically did. A coffee mug, a song on my playlist, the scent of lavender on the couch. All of it gone. I deleted the emails, smashed the USB, tried to forget. But forgetting someone like her is like trying to forget a car crash by throwing away the dashboard. Months passed, I rebuilt. Therapy, for real this time. I let the silence speak, stopped trying to fill the absence with noise. Then, one day, a letter arrived, no return address. Just a wax seal. Inside, "They'll never believe you. But I know you believe you, and that's enough. Stay sharp. There are more of us." It wasn't signed. But it didn't have to be. There were more. She wasn't alone. She wasn't the first, and she wouldn't be the last. I started a blog. At first, it was anonymous. Just stories, parables, fiction, they thought. But people wrote in, "I knew someone like that. This happened to me too." "Are you talking about her?" It snowballed. And soon I had names, faces, maps, timelines, not old June. Some were other women, some were men. They moved through lives like shadows wearing human skin. Experts in empathy, fluent in performance, parasites of vulnerability. And it made me wonder, was she ever real? Did I ever love a person? Or did I love a mask built for me, and me alone? One night, I got an email. No subject line, no text. Just a video attachment. I pressed play. A woman sitting in a room I didn't recognize. Short blonde hair, eyes darker than I remembered. It was June. "Hi," she said, like we were still close. "If you're watching this, then you survived me? Good." She took a breath. "You needed to break. You wanted to. That's why you chose me. That's why they all choose me. I don't create chaos. I reveal it." She leaned closer. "I'm just a reflection. And you were always cracked." The video ended, and I didn't watch it again. But I didn't delete it either. I saved it under a new folder, Monsters I Made. Because maybe she was right. Maybe some of us love the pain. Because it's louder than silence. Because it feels like motion. Because it reminds us we're alive, even if we're bleeding. Final monologue. Some people steal money. Others steal time, but the worst steal versions of you that you'll never get back. They crawl in through your wounds, rearrange your trust, and leave with the best of you in their pockets. You don't get closure, you get scars, and if you're lucky, you learn to stop handing out mirrors to people who only want to watch you shatter.